We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. Joining us today, and we can take your phone calls if you'd like to jump in at 737-7587. You see Murfreesboro Law Enforcement. This is the top law dog. It's the new police chief in Murfreesboro, Carl Dirk. Good to have you on with us this morning. It's a pleasure.
Yes,
pleasure
absolutely.
to meet you and get to know you. And of course, the Sergeant Kyle Evans, the spokesperson for the Murfreesboro Police Department. You see him a lot on TV. So good to have you on too, Kyle.
Thanks, Nick.
Hey, listen, we got a couple calls before we get into more of our discussion on your law enforcement philosophy. Let's go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
Dave.
Joe, what's on your mind?
Just a brief question. Welcome to Tennessee to the chief, and hello to Cal.
Good morning.
I know most police departments has a policy that if you're placing anybody under arrest, that they will be handcuffed, and that's for the protection of the officer and the person that's being arrested. I know these are children here that's involved in this deal, but what is the policy of the Murfreesboro Police Department on handcuffing people if you're placing them under arrest?
Our policy as it stands right now is that it's we're to take a look at mitigating circumstances, and I forget what all of them are. I'd have to review that again. But the times that we don't handcuff somebody, so like if they have an injury, or if there is I can't think of something else where you handcuff them in front, or because you just can't have a blanket policy that just always does something.
It's discretionary for the officer, right, based on the situation?
And absolutely. And the way our policy read at the time of this incident was anybody under the age of 12 and under, that it's discretionary upon the officer whether they handcuff the individual or not. And and we train a lot to handcuff people going in the back of the car, because throughout my 32 years in law enforcement, I've read and seen about officers getting killed while transporting prisoners. So I think we have a tendency in law enforcement, our safety is utmost.
Yeah, the other day there was Joe, do you have a follow-up on that?
No,
that's a good question.
My question, he clearly defined it. If you're 12 or under, then it's discretionary to the officer during the arrest, and that's what I was wanting to hear. And like you say, there's been several cases where, and it's for the safety of the person being arrested as well as the officer.
Both.
Because there's been several cases where people's been under arrest, and for whatever reason they got out of the handcuffs or wasn't handcuffed properly and wound up hurting or killing the officer. So.
Oh, yeah. There was a story, Joe, I just did earlier this week. It wasn't in the Murfreesboro area, but it was one of the outerlying counties where they were transporting someone, didn't handcuff her, and she somehow got the back passenger window out and down, and while they were driving, she jumped out of the window to take off. Now, first of all, she's getting hurt, then she's going to try to get up and run, they pull around and get her, but I mean, you're right, it's not just for the safety of the officer, it's also the safety of the individual involved. Who knows what they're going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
But that discretionary policy, though, but you probably walked through it, you looked at it, 12 and under, and let's face it, there are some juveniles these days that are involved in some very serious crimes, not necessarily referring to this most recent incident, but based on that still stands. Have you tried to clarify for the officers what the circumstance may be where they would do this? And I would think, sometimes doing it at school maybe is a last resort.
Right, and that's one of the things that we committed when we had the pastoral meeting, and working with them with their concerns of how we handle children. So that's something we're still looking at, and we're going to get some model policies back to them, but we're also taking a look across the nation and saying, what are other people doing? What do the policies look like? Like we're looking at IACP and some other things like that to say, what should our policy be looking forward to? Because we want officer safety to be the utmost, but we also want to take into consideration the age of the child and other circumstances.
Absolutely. I mean, it's safe to say, and Kyle maybe I know is looking into some of that. I mean, this is not the first time children have been arrested at school. I don't know. Do you have any sense of what happens across the country yet at this point? I mean, again, it's similar policies with the officer's discretion.
Well, that's right. Most of the policies that we've looked at have discretion. I think where ours had differed is that there's factors when you may handcuff. Most of the other policies are you should not handcuff unless it meets some of these criteria, and so it kind of limits the discretion a little bit. And that's what we're looking to do is to give some more defining factors that really limits where it says you should not handcuff a child under 12 unless they're a risk to themselves, a risk to others, a flight risk, the seriousness of the crime charge, and so on. And so we're just going to change the thinking a little bit from instead of we're going to handcuff everybody to well, let's think about it. Why are we handcuffing? What's the reason for it? And I think that's the way policing is going in general. We just want to know why we're doing things. I think the community wants to know what the reason is behind our practices. Not necessarily that the practices are wrong, but they just want to know the reasoning behind it and that it's thoughtful and purposeful. And that's the way we're going.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Cindy. Cindy, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Cindy, go ahead, kiddo.
I just would like to welcome them from being from Rutherford County, because I always feel safe when I go to Murfreesboro. I live in Smyrna. But I also wanted to touch base with them to do something about them teenagers, okay? Because I know I had a hard time getting one arrested that just kept badgering my son back when he was little and doing everything he could at our house. So I put out a warrant. Finally, after 6 months, I told the cop, you better take him in now. Let him see Judge Scott.
Yeah, Judge Scott. Well, hey, it's interesting she says that. Yeah, right, Judge Scott. And she's you don't want to go before Judge Scott if you're in trouble, but she does a great job. But ultimately, this incident that you dealt with and what she's talking about, kind of the genesis of it was some type of bullying. We saw there was bullying caught on video, okay, and then that spawned out of it. And we get calls every day to the newsroom from parents saying, "Gosh, my son's getting bullying. The school's not doing anything. I want to take out a warrant maybe for their arrest." I mean, you guys have to deal with that.
Right. And going through this, reviewing this incident, there's really not a bullying statute for this.
There is not.
And again, but what are those other courses of action that we can do? Because I always say we can't arrest our way out of a problem. Now, Judge Scott brings bringing people in front of Judge Scott and getting the justice system involved, and so that they can do different things and mitigate it. But what can we do? What can we work with the schools? What can we do to work with the parents? Get the parents engaged into the situation, because sometimes the parents don't know. I mean, parents are hardworking individuals, and let's give them the opportunity to make them aware. Now, if the parents are unengaged, then that leaves us. What do we do in these instances?
Yeah, and getting the parents engaged is part of the trick. You have National Night Out Against Crime every year, where you guys have these gatherings and families and parents can come out. I know the prior chief, Chrisman, was big on community policing. I just wanted to get your take, your philosophy on, because I think it helps. You have officers walking the sidewalks in some of these neighborhoods, getting to know them, and then it's more likely the parents and the kids will trust to approach them and vice versa. What's your feeling on that, and was that being done in Eugene, where you came from?
We weren't as community engaged as I would like to be, but we were leaning that way. I think you're seeing the whole country that we've got to get re-engaged. I mean, because when we look at the national picture of law enforcement and the way we interact with the community, we've got to get more engaged with the community, because there's a lack of trust there, and whether it's the transparency or whatever, but the community wants more of us, and we've got to listen to what the community wants. And I think engaging them, treating people with dignity and respect is the utmost importance.
Yeah. When you sat before Rob Lyons and going through the interview and all this, I'm guessing at some point he asked, what is your vision, or what do you know about our town, and what do you think needs to be done? What's good? What will you bring to the table? What did you kind of pitch him? And if it's different than what we're doing, I would say this is not a department that's broken. So it's something where you're coming in and you're looking to improve it. You inherited, I think, a very good department, but anything can always get better.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of my things is to develop a vision for the organization, to evaluate what we have, incorporate technology, incorporate different practices, really evaluate
more technology.
things.
You're about to get a new police station and everything too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
And I look at it like this. We have a very good agency, but how do we make it great? What makes it? There's things that we can do to make our officers' jobs easier and more efficient in the future, because we have to go to field-based reporting. There's other things that we have to do. So I think. But my biggest thing is I want to be a model law enforcement agency here in the United States, that people want to come here and work for Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
We keep our people that here, and the community loves the work we do.
Yeah.
I think if we hit on all those cylinders, we're going to have a great, fantastic police department.
Yeah, making the town safe, okay, having the transparency, and maybe using restraint. I wondered, I assume you were obviously aware of the situation, but it was a couple weeks ago where you had this, sorry, I'm going to call him, a nut, who kept himself locked up in that swimming facility, and it was a dispute over, and Kyle, you were out there the whole day, I know that, a dispute over, who owned this business, but I was out there, and I know you had to send SWAT team out, but you used restraint. There were people saying, well, why don't you just go in there and tear gas them? And I'm like, that's the wrong thing. This guy doesn't have a weapon. He's just back there, and he may have a legal right to it. But you used amazing restraint. Took all day and into the next day, but finally you got him out, and we'll see. I mean, but talk about that situation. How involved were you in that? I know Kyle was out there, and I saw Lyons out there. He swung by.
I stopped out there, and one of the things that I reflect back in looking at my career in law enforcement, I think when I first started, 30 years ago, SWAT teams would have gone in, and we would have gone and crashed the doors, gotten that person out, and everything else. But in today's society, we're really evaluating, do we want to risk our officers and exposing them to possible deadly confrontation? Do we need to push this? Because we see about suicide by cops, and I think nationally we're sitting there taking a look. We're gonna stall and try to really negotiate our way. If we had to be there for hours, and let's say he was armed, we were going to talk our way out. There's no why crash the door?
Especially when he wasn't armed. But I guess you didn't know if he had a weapon for sure back there. Yeah.
Right. And so our thing is to talk our way through it, and time is on our side.
Yeah.
There's no urgency. Again, whatever situation is, it's really what is the urgency to do something, and let's think our way through it and talk our way through it so we have the best possible outcome.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've covered those situations before where it's done exactly what you said. They rush it. And this time it was amazing restraint, and as a result, no one got hurt. We need to take a break on that note. When we come back, Richard and others, if you're on the line, we'll take your phone calls. This is the new Murfreesboro Police Chief. How long have you been here now?
I think this is 6 weeks.
6 weeks, but it feels like a year, doesn't it? No. 6 weeks he's been here, and he likes Murfreesboro, and we'll take your questions, comments for him, 737-7587. More with him and Kyle right after this.